everything just breaks loose and she finds out my dirty secret. I'm not the husband she thought I was going to be. She realizes she's married an addict.
Jason Biddle tried to control his addiction to drugs and alcohol and realized he just couldn't. He needed help.
And I looked in the mirror and I'm like, God, if you're real, like, I need your help because I can't do this anymore.
Shame overwhelms me, too much to bear. My wounds run deep now, but I know you're there. A righteous man is what I know you want me to be. The mirror image of myself is selfish, it seems.
That's new music you're listening to from Jason Biddle, who we're going to learn about on this episode. He's a construction contractor who started writing music when he was living in a house for recovering addicts. You are about to hear part 1 of a riveting story on this episode of GPS, God, People, Stories. It's an outreach of the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association, celebrating 70 years of proclaiming the message of Jesus Christ. I'm Jim Kirkland.
And I'm Phil Fleischman. After Jason shares more about his battle with alcohol and drug use, you'll hear a word from Billy Graham about addiction and hope.
There's nothing new about drug and alcohol abuse. You become a slave to sin. Is there a way out of that?
Yes, the way out of sin is actually through a person, and his name is Jesus. You'll hear Billy Graham explain more about that a little later in the episode. Or you can learn more right now at findpeacewithgod.net. That's findpeacewithgod.net. We also want to remind you about our 24-hour prayer line. The number is 888-388-2683. Again, that's 888-388-2683.
GPS.
God,
People, Stories.
So I grew up in a little town called Winchester, Virginia, very northern panhandle of Virginia, in the Shenandoah Valley.
When he was 4, Jason's parents got divorced.
So I kind of grew up having 2 moms and 2 dads. My stepfather was really big into sports. He was a coach, so he got me into sports. He just kind of became the real father figure.
Every Sunday, Jason's family took him to church, but as he got older, he lost all interest in it.
It was church on Sundays and then grandma's house after church almost every Sunday up until I was probably 15 or 16 years old. And then once I got my license, it was like, man, I needed my independence. So I'd intentionally try to stay at friends' houses on weekends or whatever so that I didn't have to go to church on Sunday. And I just started to fall away from it.
It was sports and music that got Jason's attention, and he had a lot of talent in both of those realms. He sang in concert choir in high school, and he won a big competition called the Gong Show for a duet he sang with a classmate. And that's when the jocks stopped making fun of Jason for choosing choir along with sports.
I think when the people, even my friends, came to the Gong Show, I think they were like, man, he actually can sing. So, because nobody came to the other events. But that Gong Show, there was a lot of people there my senior year, so it was neat to be able to win that.
Even though he loved to sing, when Jason pictured his future, he was always on a baseball field.
School wasn't my jam at all. The only reason I went to college was to play baseball because I assumed I had this, this ego and this pride knowing that I was just going to get picked up. Professional baseball that's what I was going to do for a living.
And that wasn't an unrealistic goal. The Cincinnati Reds invited Jason to try out during their spring training, and he was ready to show up and show off.
But instead, he blew out his elbow during tryouts. It was bad. He needed surgery. And just like that, Jason's dreams were crushed.
The rug got pulled right out from under me.
Jason wasn't interested in college anymore. He dropped out and he started working in construction.
He chose construction because he had spent many summers helping his stepdad with remodeling projects, and he had learned a lot about roofing and siding, gutters, you name it.
So when a big hailstorm came through his hometown in Virginia, Jason was ready to get to work, and he did well, very well.
I'm making ridiculous amounts of money. I still have friends that are in college. I still have friends that are, even my younger friends that were still, in high school as seniors, and here I am, getting ready to buy a house at 20, 21 years old. And then that's where I think I started really liking money. It started to become an idol for me.
With a brand new truck, a condo in town, and plenty of money for partying, Jason was pretty popular at the bar. He was always ready to buy the next round.
I flashed it, I flaunted it, and it made me feel good because people liked me.
After a couple of years working in his native Virginia, one of Jason's friends told him about an opportunity in Minnesota. There had been a big hailstorm there, and Jason knew what a big hailstorm meant to him: money.
I didn't even think twice. I just packed my stuff, said, Mom, I'm out. I just said goodbye to the family and goodbye to everything in Virginia, and I was gone. And I took the drive up here, and we became fairly successful immediately again, just like we were doing there in Virginia.
As Jason got used to life in Minnesota, he started spending a lot of time at the gym. He wanted to bulk up. And to help him do that faster, he started using steroids.
I wanted people to look at me. I wanted people to be like, oh my gosh, look how big that guy is. And again, just more of my ego, just wanting to be fed.
He got the attention he was seeking, but there was a price. The steroids wreaked havoc on Jason's body.
My joints and everything started aching real bad. It was literally, there was times where I couldn't even walk up the stairs to the gym to go work out. And then a guy introduced me to this stuff called Nubain. And he's like, hey man, you can take a shot of this, you put it in your leg, whatever you do, don't hit a vein. And he's like, but it's an opiate. And I hadn't had any problems with opiates at that time. He gave it to me, and it was one of the best highs I ever had. As soon as I took it, I'm like, man, this is good. And I was able to still work out on it. I was able to do whatever. And he just told me, he said, never hit a vein or you'll get hooked on this stuff.
Well, one day Jason did hit a vein. He fell to the floor as the high took over, and he knew he had to feel it again.
And so next thing you know, I'm hooked on Nubain. I'm not even working out anymore. I'm just shooting this stuff up.
The opiates made Jason extremely tired. So, to give him the energy he needed, he started using cocaine just to function at work.
Next thing you know, I am strung out on cocaine and opiates at the same time. And then when I don't have those things, I'm drinking. So I had like this constant cocktail of chemicals going on me for, a year and a half, 2 years.
Even though Jason had a full-blown addiction, he was still able to function, running a successful business and keeping his drug use a secret. He believed he was in control and that he could quit at any time he wanted to.
The business partner that I had at the time was fairly atheist. He just didn't believe in God. And I think a lot of that kind of rubbed off on me. Like, I'm my own person. I'm a self-made man. I don't have anybody, I make my own destiny. And that was just kind of my philosophy is, life is going to be as good as I want to make it. There's nothing else in control of that other than me.
While his drug use slowly escalated, Jason met Brittany, the woman who would soon become his wife. But Brittany didn't know she was marrying an addict.
We get married in 2006, so I'm 26 years old now, and within 6 months, everything just breaks loose, and she finds out my dirty secret, and I'm not the husband she thought I was going to be. And she finds out that I'm shooting these things up, that she found like cocaine, she found booze bottles that I'm hiding, and she realizes she's married an addict, and she left me.
When Brittany had been gone for about a week, Jason remembers waking up in the bathroom in a pool of vomit with dried blood on the back of his head.
And I looked in the mirror and I'm like, God,